Hello and welcome back to Barely Tactical. I'm Sean, this is Nathan, and you guys haven't seen us for a long time. There is a really good reason for that, money. But, aside from that, we've missed you guys. We've been away for a while, and it's not that we didn't want to do these videos. It's just really hard to buy bullets with sand. Like pocket
good
sand.
Intentions. I tried going to Canadian Tire and offering them 50 good intentions for one box of 308.
Yeah.
The conversion ratio is not up with inflation. It's not a good trade. It's the worst deal of deals.
Yeah, it's strange. I can't buy boxes of 270 with Werther's originals. I thought they would retain their value.
Like a 2-to-1 Werther's to bullet ratio was the previous standard.
Well, yeah, like all the old people in homes have them for a reason, right? Like they're sitting on bottle caps because Fallout's going to happen. Anyways.
No.
But
maybe we misinvested.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe
we're not good at stonks, if you couldn't imagine.
We're terrible with our money. So, speaking of being terrible with your money, we thought we would actually help you guys out with a video on, we'll say, the top 5 starter guns. We're going to say more or less, for us in Canada especially, but the top 5 guns you can kind of start with for beginners, almost a beginner's guide.
Yeah.
I have a few people who are looking into getting into firearms, and I kind of wish that I didn't make the, we'll say, mistakes that I made when I started this.
Yeah, our first guns weren't the most smart.
Weird, isn't it? I wish somebody had told me not to. Oh, get a German 8mm Mauser, it'll be great.
Yeah. Swedish 6.5. Oh, there's bullets everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah.
Where are they?
You go to Swedish 6.5 Emporium and speaking of Canadian, our first gun is, we'll say, a frequent flyer on this channel, and it shouldn't be a big surprise, but it's no more, we'll say it's a beauty nonetheless.
Yeah, some call it mint.
Whoa, transition. So, our first gun is the beloved Cui-39. This could be a stand-in for any 22, but we're kind of thinking that first rifle, 22 is great. A lot of people have, we'll say, strong opinions on the 22, one way or the other. Even us, we kind of started one way and kind of tipped into the other, we'll say, correct category, I'd say.
Yeah, and I believe this might even be a direct quote, "What's the point of 22? It's so small." Fast forward years of not being dumb, and 22 is great. It makes a lot of sense. Low recoil, low sound. Not that's a huge deal, but for a new shooter, you know, it's less jarring of an experience. It's hardly more than a pellet gun as far as, like, you know, bang and pop. And
we'll say that, you know, if you're going to make a mistake, you'd probably rather have a 22 than 30-06. Not that you should be making mistakes. That's another great point, is that this is the Cui-39 youth model, really. So, like, if you were ever to train on something and learn, like, oh, you know, where do I point this? Where does my finger go? This is kind of the perfect thing. Also, it's really hard to accidentally shoot, because bolt closed, nothing's happening. You actually have to manually cock it. So, if you're making mistakes with this, I don't want to say that maybe you shouldn't. Maybe firearms aren't for you.
Yeah, so you actually get your PAL and you cut it into pieces and you mail it back to the CFO saying, "I'm sorry," and they'll figure it out. They'll void it for you, and
they'll punch holes in it. Wear like a necklace of just another one. But yeah, it's a 22. Like I said, we've been to the camp where I've before been like 22. Okay, like, you know, I've got my German 8mm, which I can't shoot because I can't get ammo for. But I've come all the way around because 22 is amazing. There's actually somebody on my team at work who makes fun of this rifle particularly because, oh, it's a single shot to 22. You know who you are. And, you know, I just gotta say, try it. This is probably one of the most accurate guns I have, and it's just so much fun, and it's still much cheaper than other, I mean, 22 is going up there along with everything else. Again, we're poor. But at least with 22, if you fire 100 of them, it's kind of different than if you fired like 130-06 rounds or something. 103
WSM, or 300 WSM, 100 anything.
Anything. So,
do you mind?
Yeah, go for it.
So, like, if you're one of our followers in the States, you might not have access to the Cui-39, but it filled the blank. Savage Rascal, Winchester-made bolt single shots. There's nothing better to develop the fundamentals on, and the less knobs, buttons, and funny things, the simpler it is to learn, and there's nothing extra on this. Like, it's a piece of wood, a barrel, a cocking bit, and a bolt of sorts. And you figure it out. Iron sights. This is like tutorial island, if you will, of the gun world. I don't think you want to skip the tutorial in most games, and this is a tutorial you want to go through. Yeah,
and it's pretty cheap for what it is. I mean, these are still, I'm assuming, under...
Well, they're under 300 now.
That hurts.
Collectible ones sell for more.
Yeah, I'm holding on to this. This is mine. But yeah, moving on from that, yeah, I forget the order we're doing these in. So let's see what's in our hands after the next transition.
So we dug up our list, and our next item, single shot shotgun. If the 22 is bread and butter, this is meat and potatoes. None the fancier, just as utilitarian. I would say arguably even more utilitarian. If you are getting into the shotgun world, learn how to shoot one of these. With one shot, you really you savor the experience. If a clay's whipping by, there is no boom, boom, boom. It's boom. And the clay's landed minutes ago. If you want to develop the fundamentals of shotgunning, stick with the front bead. You know, barrel length can vary. This one is like a standard field length. This particular example is a Remington 812, made in Brazil. They don't make shotguns simpler. Manually cock the hammer. This one has an ejector, so it shoots the brass out. Fancy. Fancy.
Watch your eyes, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've seen it happen.
Yeah, don't look down the tube.
Yeah.
This particular example is in 20 gauge. I'd say there's a great argument for 20, 12. If this was yesteryear, 410, but I think 410's gone the way of the dinosaur, at least here in Canada.
Even then, I'd probably say 20 or 12 because you want something. I'm not going to say, like, I'm not going to be like, oh, you want something useful. But realistically, like, if you're going to go to the next shotgun, you're probably going 12 gauge, if anything, but 20 is also just as good. But that's something else to learn is that when you start shooting shotguns versus rifles, there's a different kind of recoil impulse to them. So you get to kind of learn, oh, that's what a shotgun shell feels like. Like, that's what that's like. Because it's a little different. You kind of get into the nuance. So in this, you're not worrying like, oh, I've got like, you know, X numbers more in the tube, or oh, I have to like, there's mechanisms I have to work. This is literally put shell in, close, pull back hammer. Like that's it.
Yeah, we've taken it down to the lowest common denominator. This is as manual and as simple as it can be. Extremely safe, great starting point, and these are cheap. I mean, I got this on the used rack of a local gun shop. We won't say a name. I want to say for like $200, like in a smile.
Yeah.
Maybe they're a little more expensive now, or you can find different examples. There's Turkish single shots. I don't know if I'd recommend going Turkish, but
yeah, we may or may not have done some tests on Turkish shotguns and have some experiences, and
we've proven they suck. We'll do it again. Don't make us.
They still suck. Come at me. I know some people are defending them like, oh, my Turkish gun's good. You've got the golden goose then.
Or, oh, after a 2,000 round break-in, it works okay.
Yeah. Well, if shotgun shells were free, like, sure. But,
some guns never see 2,000 rounds in their lifetime. Or some people's do. Ours, depending on them.
Shotgun didn't. Anyways.
Not to devolve into Turkish Shotgun Suck Part 2.
Yeah. Some PTSD here.
But a single shot, 12 gauge or 20.
Yeah.
This particular example, 12 or 20. Perfect. Great starting gun.
I think another thing that maybe people sleep on is that as gun owners, like a lot of people, we like to take people out shooting for the first time. We like to be like, hey, you like guns? Like, cool. I want you to be part of my club. I want you to like, you know, I want you to like guns.
Yeah.
So these always have a use. It's not like you're sitting around and like, oh, that's the beginner gun. I'm not going to use that. You might not. They're still fun. But what if, like, you know, you bring your girlfriend, you bring somebody out who hasn't shot. Like, it's really easy to go through the basics and manual of arms with something like this than being like, hey, here's this like Benelli M4 that please don't drop it because it's really expensive and it does this. Don't want, you know, watch your hand here. Don't snag this. And like, this is just, hey, this gun.
Yeah, people worry about outgrowing guns, and honestly, I think these are hard to outgrow. Yes, you get fancier, you get maybe guns with more utility, but if you want something simple, this thing folds practically in half. It's reliable, it's simple, it's still worth keeping around. So, starting point and on, one of these is good.
Don't we all wish we were like that? Speaking of starting points, next we're going to move on to something just a little bit bigger.
So up next is pretty quintessential. Everyone always talks about shooting a scope gun. Not to misuse the phrase, but people want a sniper rifle. Not that we agree with the terminology, but people from the outside gun world, we'll let you call it sniper rifles. Neither of us are snipers. I haven't been to sniper school, have you?
No, I've flunked a lot of times.
Yeah.
I didn't know which end it came out of, but...
But the baseline entry-level bolt gun and a centerfire cartridge is, I think, a staple in progressing through the firearm world. Rim fire is great, but eventually you want something that makes a bigger bang, the bullet goes farther, faster, flatter, hits harder, and maybe you actually want to hunt. Target practice at a distance more than a couple hundred yards, you name it. There's lots of reasons to want to center fire. There's lots of guns in this category, the Savage Axis, Ruger American, but we both went through our own means down the Mossberg Patriot route.
Yeah, so basically, both of these guns have a lot of similarities, both in the sense that they're Patriots. But as you can see, you can get them in very different finishes. You can get them in different calibers and all these things. These are almost verbatim the same gun. It's just I've maybe put a few accessories on mine, but like that's not a necessity.
And mine doesn't scare Grandpa.
Yeah, this is the scary one. Remember that. This one should be banned. But yeah, so as I said, like really, like there's nothing special or fancy about these.
No.
But there's nothing wrong with them either. These are on the cheaper end, which is to say, I don't even know what these go for now. Probably like
$700 and change.
Well, because I bought this for around that, so I'm assuming they've gone up. This one's in 270. That one's in
270 WSM, so the evil cousin of 270. That's a little chunky but runs faster.
This guy always trying to one up me. But there's nothing wrong with them. They're fun. It's really good to learn. Some starter rifles, some people will say that the scopes need to be almost immediately upgraded. It depends. There's as with everything, there's caveats. There's kind of elitist groups and stuff like that.
You're telling me on a $500 gun, if it comes with a free scope, the scope's not worth $500?
I didn't want to have to tell you on camera, but that's exactly what it is.
Is Santa also not real, Sean?
I don't want you to... Do you want to cry? You're in front of...
Cut the camera.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, so... I don't know what else to really say about it. I mean, like, everybody wants, as you said, everyone wants a like sniper fantasy of, but if you're not a sniper, then it's not a sniper rifle. I'm an adequate marksman, so I guess I'd say this is an adequate marksman rifle. I don't know. But
yeah, they're a great starting point. Like take these two guns for example. Like Sean put a bipod and a sling on his. This one's off the shelf minus the scope I put on it. I got a deal on this. I won't say how much I paid because that price isn't real anymore because I've had it for a few years. But I put this is gonna be extra Canadian, a Hunt Shield. That was a brand Canadian Tire carried for a while. Hunt Shield 4x12 for 270 WSM. That's plenty. I think I maybe spent 100 something on the scope on sale. An undisclosed super sale price of yesteryear on the gun. Excellent starting point. They're fun, they work, and you can upgrade them as far as you want, and that's your angle to take.
Yeah, even actually something that may be even more important in terms of your rifle, maybe not even like which rifle you grab, but which caliber it is. So this one's in 270, and this is a really cheap application to test out 270 and use it. I had done research, I fired a 270 before, so I knew I wanted this. But if you don't know, like if you're trying to build a hunting rifle and you're like, oh, I don't know, 308, 30-06, 270, like this is a way to be like, well, let's try one. Like, you know, if you don't have a friend to show you or somebody to go through it, like, hey, what, you know, if you had this rifle in 308, you're not going to be kicking yourself in the butt in like a couple of years, being like, oh man, like, you know, this is terrible. 308 does not like there's not like useless calibers in this. Like these guns have multiple uses, and so I think it's a great way to kind of start down the path of what belligerent rifle round do I want to become associated with. So, and attach myself. Please don't make it a curio relic round that you can't find and have to reload. You're the only one who has a reloading press in the entire country to do. But, you know, it's just...
Caliber consideration is big. But other than that, yeah, have fun.
Yep. Speaking of having fun, we're going into probably one of the more fun ones on this list. Yeah, stay tuned.
So up next, and potentially a controversial one, Mossberg 500. Baseline, bread and butter, field length barrel that, you know, the Elmer Fudd special. A pump shotgun's a great progression from a single shot. It gives you additional utility given, you know, you're ready for the extra firepower and, you know, the extra complication that comes with, you know, a more complicated gun.
Yeah.
What won't it do? Shoot birds, shoot beer cans, shoot pumpkins, deer, anything with 4 legs, most things with 2 legs. Shoot trash piles for hours on end. They just keep rocking. And some are going to think, why not a Remington 870? Well, honestly, at this point, price point, and as of recently, you couldn't buy a new Remington 870. Legal issues, restructuring the company, Chapter 11 was thrown around a few times. They weren't making guns, so if you wanted a cheap, new pump gun, Mossberg 500 was kind of the choice. And I am an 870 guy overall, but if you're going to start off somewhere, the Mossberg's simpler to work on, cheaper parts, and I would say at this point, just as reliable. Ask how many law enforcement and military groups use Mossberg product?
At least 3.
At least 3.
So maybe
at least 3.
Yeah, basically, pump action shotguns are a staple of in the firearms community. I mean, pretty much everybody who I've ever met who owns firearms owns at least one, if not several of these. Not this specific, but because I'm also a bit of an 870 guy myself, my first shotgun was a Turkish shotgun, so we'll talk about that. I think
my condolences.
Yeah. So I like this. Yeah, you can't really go wrong with them. They feel good. They're the kind of the classic gun. Like even when like people think like, oh, gun, people are usually thinking like, oh, I've got a shotgun in my hand, like imaginary shotgun. Like it's just something that you should have. And this one, as Nate said, is basically for the price point because these are kind of the cheaper ones on the market in terms of getting into the entry without going too cheap, because there is always the caveat of you get what you pay for. If you buy no-name Pop-Tarts, they're not going to taste good,
Yeah,
like,
why are the sprinkle squares instead of sprinkle shapes?
Yeah.
Like costs had to be saved. And a little piece of Canadiana heritage, if you don't mind swinging it around. I told you this is a Mossberg 500. I was lying. It's a Mossberg 400G, Mossberg 500, made in Canada. Extra cool points for the maple leaf scent, and this is actually made of beaveranium. It's plays like titanium, but beaver alloy, so indestructible.
Yeah, very rare in other countries.
Very rare in other countries. Non-beaver populated places couldn't imagine this kind of technology.
But yeah, you can't go wrong with it, and it's a shotgun. I mean, almost everybody has an interest in them. The utility alone, you can do almost everything with these because it really comes down to the shell, not the gun itself. So you also don't have to worry about any kind of like loopholes with a semi-auto shotgun or things like that, or like having to know everything. You know what I mean? Like this is, you can't screw this. Well, okay, I don't want to say that.
I'm sure some guy with a trumpeted barrel from an inch of snow in the end. Oh, something went wrong.
Somebody's like, what do you mean you can't screw it up?
But they're simple. You can give a crash course in, I'd say, 45 seconds on how to use it safely.
Yeah. Jams are even easier to clear. Like it's something you can get, take a pocket knife or like something like that. It's easy.
I will say the Mossberg's completely open access in there is a benefit. Some would say over Remington with the latch there.
You won't pinch your
everything's
thumbs.
accessible. No pinchies, no glove getting caught.
Poor thumbs. But yeah, our next and last one is a bit of a somber topic, we'll say. So.
Honorable mentions or dishonorable mentions, depending on the angle you want to take.
Yeah, you be the judge. And last, but certainly not least, is the Humble SKS. This is a Canadian classic in the sense where we... I honestly think we have more than like most countries combined. Like, it's insane how many SKSs are in Canada. It's a great gun. It's definitely a good entry into semi-autos. There's a lot that is being unsaid right now, but these are... We'll start with the price. These used to be like $200, I swear. Like, you used to be able to get these for dirt cheap.
For those of us a little bit older than us, they were 99 bucks Canada ammo, and they shipped them for free. And then our generation kind of saw them the $200 price point. A quick peruse on Gunpost, $550 to $750.
Yeah.
That's nice hunting rifle money. That's higher end shotgun money. Yeah. That's 3 SKS's worth of money. And
when we were saying like, oh, you get what you pay for, that's not true anymore with this. I mean, this is not... I would humbly say like that's not worth that money. This is a $250 gun. You're not getting like a perfect grade SKS for that money. Oh, don't even talk about the perfect grade or the drill models that are coming in all fancy. We won't even say the price out loud because it's undeserving of the firearm. Between that, the possibility of these being banned, we won't get too deep into that, but it's maybe going on a list, maybe not. Yeah, thank
you. The word gets thrown around a lot, or the rumor. So who knows if we can even keep this thing? If not, machine shop and chop it into cubes. I don't know. So we don't want to. It's kind of sad that we almost shouldn't have done this one last, because now we're leaving on a somber note of like this is almost like a gun of yesteryear. But it was great, and it's a great starter. Like I said, like you start to get into like managing the recoil of semi-auto fire, and like you know, like this is 7.62 by 39, like which is obviously like that's the AK-47 AK round kind of thing. So like
that's kind of a big deal. It's kind of fun. This also has a very interesting history where it was a very short-lived rifle.
But prolifically manufactured.
There's so many of them, right? So it's, even looking at it, I'm glad that there's one in the house, but I just wish that there were, you know, it was more available, or at least for like a regular price and not obscene.
Even the ammo, this is going to make us sound like we're 105. You used to be able to walk into Cabela's and see stacks of the wooden crates along the wall with like $200. You get 2 tins of it, over 1,000 rounds, sometimes 1,400 rounds. You still can, but the price is climbing to the point where it's almost like, I don't want to say it's as expensive as full house centerfire rounds, but it's the gap is thinning and availability is even compromised. Stuff's going on with Russia. Not seeing any Russian ammo coming in. Wonder why. So it's mostly the Chinese stuff, and that seems to be, for some people, decent, some people inconsistent. So yeah, it's not even plentiful cheap ammo anymore.
It's even a good thing to practice on, like jamming, or like, oh, my gun's not working properly. What do I do? Like, there's a lot of workshop there's a lot of workshopping you can do on this. It's really sad looking at it. Like, honestly, I'm a little sad. I'm a little sad because, like, I want one. I should have got one. I could have got one a long time ago, but I didn't. But even then, like we said, with semi-autos, like, you're not spoiled for choice in Canada anymore.
Not for non-restricted.
In fact, like, we don't have much. This is a really sad ending of this video.
To get nostalgic, this gun does instill a level of responsibility, because with a single-shot 22, you can clean it twice in its lifetime. It might still work.
Corrosive ammo.
Most pump-action shotguns, people don't even clean them. They bought it in '75, and it still has the carbon in it from the first box of shells. This instills upon you the responsibility and tradition of actually cleaning your gun thoroughly, otherwise it will rust out like your dad's Pontiac, and it will not work any well.
What were the colors of the internals of this gun when you got it, Nate?
Well, this gun was a nice hue of fuzzy orange from tip to tea kettle when I first got it, and I had to pry it apart and clean it up for hours. That was a 3-man job getting the action out of the stock. Like, it was seized up, gummed up. Barely, I'd say it was on life support, maybe past life. We had to replug it in, like.
And it's sad because we like to categorize rifles on this channel in terms of, like, you know, their use, availability, and all this. This was like the quintessential semi-auto plinking rifle. You take it out, you take 1,000 rounds onto a field with a couple buddies, you blow through half of it in an afternoon. You go home, you clean it, you have a great time. I feel like that ship has sailed.
It is. If it hasn't sailed, like, the ticket's counting down, and you can see it churning up the engine. You know, the props are going to kick in a moment.
Yeah. And then it's going to sink. No, sorry, that's
it's going into an iceberg field.
Yeah, and then it's coming out orange. But yeah. So on that super happy note,
we just whip it into a trash bin preemptively.
I don't know. Yeah. So on this,
sell it on Gun Post for $750.
Yeah, perfect grade. You know, like, it's pretty well. But on that somber note, yeah, we should have maybe not done that one last. We're back. We're hoping to do more videos. We're hoping to get out actually into the field. As much as we like doing videos like this format, we also have not shot in a while, so hopefully we can put some shekels aside.
Do you remember how to?
I don't know. You see, maybe we need to start with our beginner guns. Look at that.
Yeah.
I don't, but we're going to be out in the field this summer. We're going to be doing some things. We have some big plans, some big videos. Maybe revisiting Turkish shotguns. That'll be fun. But until next time, we've been Barely Tactical. I'm Sean. This is Nate. And what did we say with our sign-off? Keep your sights fixed on Barely Tactical. I remember. We'll catch you next time.